We're going to get started real soon here. Hello, good morning. I'm Rob, that developer dad, and it is, excuse me, Monday, August 14th. My allergies are kicking my tail the past couple of days. Fall allergies are such fun. But last week we got the application to a place where I'm pretty darn happy with it. We have all of the compiler warnings are resolved. The UI is looking pretty tasty, and it's time to start designing the admin or the support application for this thing. I'm pretty settled on using Lemon Squeezy as the payment processor and everything like that, because they are going to take care of securely storing my customers' credit card and payment information. So that's one thing that's off my plate that I don't have to worry about. They take care of calculating, charging, and submitting sales tax. So that's another huge thing that I don't have to worry about. And I need to think about how we're going to be integrating the activities that occur in their domain with getting people added to the correct intra groups, setting up the appropriate quotas, and so on and so forth, and so on, as well as managing things like subscriptions, products, etc., etc., etc. So what we're going to do today is take a step away from the coding and sort of prioritize the things that we need to build so that we can properly manage this thing as a product. So let's go over to the screen share, and I'm going to leave Visual Studio open, and I'm going to open up a notepad. And there's a couple of things. Actually, no, I'm not going to open Notepad. We're going to go to GitHub for this. So new window. We'll do GitHub. Oh, come on. GitHub. We'll pop in here. And I want to go to projects. And I do want to add something to GM Tools MVP real quick. Integrate metered usage. It's been a while since I've managed my work items here. That's done. That's done. That's done. Still got to do that. Manage the prompts that can be used between the NPC system and the AI provider. That's a good candidate for an admin system, isn't it? Task host footer on the create new NPC. I fixed that. That's done. Add an instruction to the AI prompt. We can do that. Add an edit button and corresponding editor. That's not done yet. Grounding data. Update documentation with new projects. That's got to be done. Improve test coverage. Magic strings, background template details, vocation template details. Blah, 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 blah. This, let's just delete it. Yeah. Goodbye. Rename dependency helper. I believe we did that. Rename the extension method. Yep, did that as well. Okay, so there is one thing that I need to do. And add item. When a user has reached their quota for a particular activity, show an error message to them and don't allow that activity. We're going to pop this to the top. And I actually want to just go ahead and turn this into an issue right away. I'm going to assign me convert to issue in here. Labels, call it coding. An enhancement. Edit. When a user has reached their quota for a activity, disable that activity in the UI. Consider color coding or otherwise representing their getting close to that quota. Close to that quota as they get near. Ninety, 80, 90%. Change the color of the text or something. Although that's not, maybe not color. That's not friendly to color blind or otherwise, or visually impaired. No, to people with color blindness or some other visual impairment. Save. All right. So that's that. And I'm going to pull this over to in progress because it is a high priority. Now, can I rename? I can rename this. The DM's familiar MVP. These tasks describe the work to be done to make a minimum viable product out of the NPC generator. How do I save? Save changes. There we go. All right, so that's that. Projects. Now, I think for simplicity's sake and sanity's sake, we're going to put all of the admin work in here. The DMs, familiar, admin system. Create the project. And I want to go to settings. Describes the work to be done to create an administrative system for the DMs, capital M, familiar, product. Includes product subscription management, user management, etc. Save changes. Back here. And let's add some items. We're going to need to be able to manage the Entra groups that control access within the product. We're going to need to be able to manage membership in the groups. Membership of the product access groups in Entra. Manage the products and subscriptions as created in the store. What else? There's a temptation to add a to-do item here for managing the AI prompts and so on that actually create things. But what I'm going to do instead of doing that is I'm going to take this guy and we are going to move him to the DM's familiar admin system and take it out of here. There we go. Now we can close that. Come back to our projects. Come in here. And that is going into the to-do pile. Now, before we do this, before we can really start any of these, design the architecture for this administrative system. You are going to, can I just move you to the top? You're not going to let me do that? That's weird. We're going to move that to the top. Add item, research, the store system will be integrating with more fully. You're going up here. Create a detailed design for how the admin system integrate with the store Okay. So let's talk about high-level architecture today. I feel like that's a good place to start. So we're going to pull this over into the in progress, and we're going to take it from being a draft item. We're going to assign me because I'm the only guy. Priority. Well, everything else relies on it. Estimate iteration. What the heck is all this nonsense? Convert to issue, I guess in the GM Tools repository. Although we might stand up a new repository for this. I'm not sure yet. For now, we're going to add it to that. Size. Ew. You know, the architecture for this is actually kind of going to be small. Estimate, I'm not going to mess with that, or iterations, or start dates, or end dates, or any of that nonsense. Milestones, no. Here we go. Edit. Create a preliminary architecture for which portions of the admin system will be coded into which logical and physical preliminary architecture to guide the construction, planning, construction, and deployment of the administrative system for the DM's helper. And right now, the only person who's going to be using this is me. because I am the whole company. We'll need a static design diagram, a set of static design diagrams, we'll need, and this is going to become a list. List of use cases. And finally, a manifest of solution projects. Save-a-roo. And let's dive into this. I've marked it as a P0, small. I honestly don't expect to spend more than today's streams and maybe tomorrow's streams on this. Because this is a relative, I'm going to make this statement and I might recant later. But this is actually, in reality, a fairly simple system here. So let's go to PowerPoint. I like PowerPoint for these kinds of things because I can move very, very quickly in it. When I need to move to something more more complex in terms of software diagramming, I'll go to Draw.io or whatever. You know what? No, I'm not going to use PowerPoint. I got to make up my mind. GitHub. We'll go back to GitHub. What we'll do, I've got projects. I am going to go ahead and create a new repository for this. But this one's going to be private. No. Repository template. No templates available. TD. MF. Admin. Description is holds the code and documentation for the administrative, for the software that will help me with my administrative tasks in running the DM's familiar. And you know what? Heck with it. Public. Boom. We are going to add a README file. We're going to add a gitignore template for Visual Studio. License. Let's go. Oh, which one? I need a good simplified MIT. I got to go back to learn more about licenses. Because I want to change the license on the GM Tools repository to Creative Commons non-commercial, because I am turning this into a project or a product. Choose a license. I need to work in the community. I want it simple and permissive. Distributing closed source versions. Let's go with GNU GPL. I like that. Disclose source, license and copyright notice, same license, state changes. Okay, it does allow that. I want more licenses are available. Commercial use, commercial use. How can I get rid of the commercial use one? State changes. You know what? I'm making available complete source code of licensed works and modifications. GPL3, LGPL, blah, 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 blah. Same license library. You know what? For the admin system, I'm requiring preservation of copyright and license notices for source and not binary distribution. Source code. I'm going to go with MIT. Heck with it. For this, yeah. Because I've written tons of admin software like this in the past, and I've learned a few things. So I want to, yes, I want to use main instead of master, because master has unintended implications for some folks, for some sections of our population here in North America. And I like to consider people's feelings when I do things. I think I need some coffee, so I'm going to go do that. You can follow me. I might fall out of visual range or what have you, but I'll keep talking as I go. So yeah, I've created more than my fair share of administrative software like this over the course of my career, and I've learned a few things. And the first time I did it, I was a baby developer, and I wasn't very good at it. I'll be honest. I made some choices that were really, really good, but in the line of fire and the sense of urgency and everything like that, I made other choices that actually really badly hindered my ability to maintain and develop and extend and debug and so on. Now that I've got some iDesign courses under my belt, now that I've studied with Yuval and Monty a couple of times over the past 5 to 8 years, I know better, so I can do better. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to edit our README file. and say, this repository holds the code and documentation for the software that will help me perform the administrative tasks while running the DM's familiar. Excuse me. So, this repository holds the code and documentation. Yeah. Repository organization. Docs will hold documentation for this system. Source will contain the source code that builds the software for this system. And that's really all we're going to have for now. So let's commit those changes. Update README. Adds some additional information about the repository. And we're going to go ahead and commit directly to main. That's fine. I don't have any actions or anything like that stood up yet. It's a-okay. Let's go back to main. Nope. Let's go back to code. Here we are. I need to add a file. Yeah, we'll create a new file. And I'm going to call it /docs/use-cases.md. No, we'll go ahead and leave those Pascal cased. Use cases. Derp. 1. Use case number 1. Manage the security groups. Manage the groups defined in MS Entra that are used to control access to different areas of the DM's familiar. Manage membership in those groups. Now, this isn't going to be the only way membership manipulations happen within the DM's familiar. And also, remember that I'm not just talking about the UI. These use cases may need to be available not only through a UI, but also through an API. Manage the groups defined in MS Entra that are used to control access to different areas of the DM's familiar. Manage membership in these groups. Manage system local data about the products and subscriptions that are available for sale in the external store. Manage the AI prompts and eventually prompt workflows that are used by the different features provided by the DM's familiar. What other use cases can I think of? Manage user accounts within the DM's familiar. Allow same account manipulations as provided by the store. Send email notifications to the users using the features provided by the store. Note: the store, and let's emphasize this, refers to an external service provider that will handle all payment details for the product. Refers to the software services delivered under the name the DM's familiar. Send email notifications to users using those features provided by the store. I can't really think of anything else that I need to be able to do through this system at this point. So we're going to commit these changes. Create use cases MD, adds a markdown file listing the known use cases for this admin system. Commit directly. There we go. So here's use cases. I'm going to pop this in a new window because I'm going to add another file. I'm going to create a new file, docs slash volatilities .md. Volatilities. What noise was that? Chirpity chirp. Something just chirped in my ears. Volatilities and what are you doing? Docs slash. I want to have a document that describes the different systems that we're going to be dealing with here. External systems. Nope, that gets a pound sign. External systems. User store. Identity. Actually, I'm going to, instead of user store, identity store. DM's familiar uses MS Entra as its authentication and authorization store. User objects are created formerly called Azure AD B2C are created within a directory and placed into Entra groups, which are used to control who can access which features in the product. And I'm going to do this. term explanation. Just do that. Let's do a preview, make sure I've got my markdown right. Okay, good. Excuse me. All right. The product. In the context of this repository and project, the product should the product refers to the software product branded as the DMs. Familiar. And that's all we got for that right now. Preview. Oh, I like that. Good. Now I need the space after that. Preview this. I need a space after this. Preview. There we go. External. And I'm going to say and external systems. Identity store is going to be demoted to a third level. External systems. And let's start identifying volatilities. Volatilities. In reality, identity is a huge volatility. Payment processing, huge volatilities. And I mean that by the details and the code required to implement those aspects of running a product as something that we can safely charge money for. Require an immense amount of work to get right. B, change often. And C, come with a lot of additional external burden that isn't really central to what we are perhaps trying to do with the product that we're selling. In this case, we're trying to create a set of tools that dungeon masters can use while running their games to make their lives easier. We don't want to write code to keep people's personal information safe and secure and easily accessible by them. We don't want to have to write code to keep their payment or financial information safe and secure and available to them, and the billing systems that need to be able to access it when it's time to pay for next month's subscription. We don't want to have to worry about maintaining sales tax information for all of the jurisdictions in which we do business, as well as all of the legal and regulatory aspects that go into calculating and submitting sales tax collection in for instance, in the United States, at least 50 different jurisdictions. So in this project, I've externalized those volatilities. Sensitive information. No, I'm going to say identity management. Payment management. Product capabilities. Supporting data for the product itself. Allgrave, how's it going? This is actually one of my players. This guy, he's one of those jokers that when they roll into town, they'll say, I want to go to the blacksmith, and try to strike up a conversation about the blacksmith and introduce themselves and ask intimate details about that blacksmith's life, like how they grew up and why are they a blacksmith now and all of that stuff. And me building the DM's familiar is kind of his fault. I've been thinking about tools like this forever. And once all of this admin, boring business crap that I've been focused on for the past couple of months is done, I want to get back to extending the features. But we'll get there. We'll get to that discussion. I don't want to be talking about additional application features just yet, because I do need to focus on getting these things in place, or at least designed so that I can work on them offline, while I also work on the other more exciting things. So we've got identity management, and let's make sure everything's spelled correctly. Management, product capabilities, supporting data for the product itself, and who are my users. Keep their personal information safe, but accessible to those systems that are necessary for the operation of the business. The business, in the context of this documentation, the business refers to that developer dad as a commercial entity. Spelling is good. All right, volatilities. Operation of the business. Safe but accessible to those systems that are necessary for the operation of the business. Allow as much self-service activity as possible. Reset password. Manage profile, etc. Payment management. How do my users pay me for the services they receive? How do I protect their payment information while still allowing the business to do things like automatic monthly billing? Product capabilities. As new capabilities are added, many will be included in the base subscription product. Some very advanced, not yet imagined features may require a higher tier, priced tier, as those features may have a higher delivery cost. And supporting data for the product itself. AI prompts, legal value lists, DB stored rule sets, I really like the idea of data stored or database stored rule sets instead of using the hard-coded one that I have right now. The hard-coded one for the 5e system reference document is fantastic in that it's not going to change. This is what Wizards of the Coast has released to the Creative Commons. They are not going to be amending it. If they make changes, they'll release a new version. Such as for the for D&D 2024, as they seem to be branding it. When the rest of the new books come out, they'll be releasing a new SRD under that branding. It hasn't come out yet. We expect to see that sometime mid 2025 is what I've been seeing from their communication channels. Usually through D&D Beyond, they have blog posts and so on about that stuff. So supporting data for the product itself, AI prompts, legal value lists, DB stored rule sets. Definition associations between product subscription, quota bound features, etc. All right. We are at an hour, and I do need to keep my times strict today because I have phone calls going on. I have a very important phone call at 4:30 this afternoon, so there's no danger of my stream overlapping that, but I do need to sort of do a briefing on this call before then, and I've seen some messages come up on my phone from the guy that I'll be doing the briefing with. So I need to attend to those. When we pick up this afternoon, we're going to start talking about the external systems that I'll be integrating with. And we'll start maybe even drawing some sketches. So for now, I'm going to commit these changes. Creates the initial list and commentary about the utilities and external systems that I'll be dealing with in this admin subsystem. Commit. And let's take a look. How's that look? Oh, I like that. And I'm going to bring this table format over into the use cases as well, because that's super nice. Okay. So I think we've had a productive morning session, and we'll pick this back up this afternoon. It's not a lot of exciting code or anything like that, but a few hours of thought and planning and sort of getting some definitions in place about what we're going to do before we do it is going to save us a lot of headaches and hair pulling later on when we actually start setting up the projects and building and writing the code and so on and so forth. So yeah, this has been a good start, and we're going to continue this afternoon. This will probably bleed into tomorrow and perhaps even Wednesday. So if you've ever wanted to see what goes into planning a software application, the next few days are going to be heavily focused on that activity. And then we'll get into laying out the solution and the projects and all of that happy stuff. So great. Thanks for joining me, those of you who did. And I'll be back at it at 1 p.m. Eastern time this afternoon. I am that developer dad. Follow, subscribe over on the place where I archive these things, so on and so forth. And I'll see you this afternoon. Happy coding.